team out of the top four will we see crash out in straight sets?
I think Geelong for the Premiership, Tom Stewart for the Norm Smith medal, and Brownlow, Bailey Smith. So
This disappointment for me was Port Adelaide.
Brisbane were able to back it up and put together a good season after winning the Premiership.
Hello and welcome back to Ahead of the Game Sports Chat with Sports Pez Jez right over on the far side. And Tucks Sport Takes. We're from bets.com.au and we write game previews. But here we're talking sport. Jez, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, sir. Really excited to do a show just on AFL and the AFL Finals. It's going to be an absolute cracker. My son snuck in at the end, so super pumped for September in the AFL this year.
Awesome, man. And we have our resident AFL expert, Adam Cusworth, with us on the show. Adam, welcome to Ahead of the Game, mate, and let us know what you do at bets.com.au.
G'day boys, good to be here. Yes, I'm writing about the football that's coming up, all the predictions and previews for home and away and finals coming up. I should mention I'm a bit of a nervous Hawthorn supporter. I'm not quite sure how we're going to progress in the final series. Also do a bit of horse racing as well. So Group 1 action at Caulfield tomorrow. Looking forward to that, but here to talk some footy.
Awesome.
I heard you're a little bit mad on the horse punt, Adam. We got to get to the track with you, I think.
Absolutely. Cox Plate, Moonee Valley is my home track. Every year, great day. They're going to redevelop the track, so interesting to see what happens with that. But yeah, lock in the Cox Plate for sure.
Love it. And also coming up on Ahead of the Game over the next few months, we're going to get some NFL action, NBA, NBL, and then also a lot of cricket, Jez, BBL, and the Ashes coming up this summer. We're going to be pushing out a heap of content on this channel around all these sports.
Yeah, it's busy. It's a busy summer, but yeah, a lot of cricket. Adam, you're going to help us out with the cricket too, aren't you? You're a bit of a
absolutely
cricket buff.
Yeah, absolutely. It should mention Melbourne Stars fan, so perennial sort of failures. One of the only sides that hasn't won a title so far, but maybe it's our year. We'll see what happens.
If Hobart can win one, I'm sure the Stars can win one, right?
Absolutely, we do. Absolutely.
They had a bit of a resurgence towards the end of last season, but couldn't get over the line.
One day we'll see what happens.
Yeah. But today, boys, we are talking AFL and AFL Finals, and I want to get into it straight away with some bold predictions. And what bolder can we get than who kicks the most goals in this year's Finals series? And Jez, I'm going to throw to you first, mate. Who is your pick?
Mate, there's going to be a theme in this whole show, and that's me bragging about putting money on the Crows when they were like 11-1, I think. So I'm all about the Adelaide Crows. I was there before anybody else was there. So just remember that. But Riley Thilthorpe, one of these names that I suck at as usual, but absolute gun. I think if the Crows are going to go as long as I think, then Thilthorpe's going to have to be in the thick of the action. He's been an absolute gun all year, averaging 2.4 goals for the season. But in the last 7 games, he really started to kick off again. Had a little bit of a quiet patch there in the middle, but he's averaging 3.1 goals per game in the last 7 and had a couple of 5+ goal games. So might not get a 5+ goal game in the finals, but I think he's going to be there or thereabouts. So I'm backing Thilthorpe all the way to kick the most goals in the final series.
It's a big one. He's a big body, and he's seen us throughout the season how tough it's been for the defenders of the opposition teams to get in front of him or get him off his line. It's a bloody good pick. Adam, who are you backing, mate, to kick the most goals in the final series?
Yeah, it's not Thilthorpe, the thrill seeker you can call him. I'm going to think outside the square a little bit, and as long as this guy doesn't have a brain fade, which he does have from time to time, he's got a fair rap sheet, striking, spitting, umpire contact, you name it, eye gouging. I think his best was a bit of a fly kick against the Bulldogs one night, but it's my man Toby Greene. I reckon he's an absolute gun. I don't think we're going to see huge scores in the final series. Not too many big bags of goals. The total points under might come into play a little bit. So guys like Jeremy Cameron, he's averaging 3.6 goals this season, but against top 8 sides, it's down to 2. So Toby Greene, big game player. He'll be hungry. There's been some heartbreak for the Giants the past couple of years. He's kicked 9 in his past 3 weeks, averaging 2.5 over the past 8. So stood up at important times. So I reckon he might be a bit of a value player. I reckon the Giants can go deep as well. So might talk about them shortly.
Well, that kind of leads us straight into the next point, boys. And it's a prediction about which bottom 4 side goes the deepest. And Adam, while we stay on you, mate, and around GWS, this team, they started strong in 2025. Then they had that mid-season lull, which we've come to know a little bit with the GWS Giants over the past few years. But then they hit their strides and they start peaking towards finals. You think this side could make a deep run in 2025?
Yeah, their best is as good as any side. They've come so close the past couple of years. They've lost by a point to Collingwood a couple of years ago in the prelim, and the Pies went on to win the finals. They were all over Brisbane last year and lost it in the dying stages. But when they're up and about, they're really hard to stop. They travel really well. Got elite depth and talent. Probably the names that are returning as a Hawthorn supporter, it's scary. Hogan, Stringer, Kelly, Daniels, Buckley, Caniglio, all in the mix to return. They might even somehow pinch Jeremy Cameron back from Geelong to add some of those names. Ridiculous. And look, I think it really opens up for the winner of the Giants and the Hawks. They're likely to take on possibly Collingwood, who have been struggling in recent times. And yeah, just the hurt from the past couple of years, that should really spur them on. So Giants definitely the danger coming out of the bottom 4.
Yeah, man, I can definitely see that kind of pathway that you mentioned there. And the whole season, like I've written quite a few previews for GWS this season over at bets.com.au, which, by the way, there's going to be a link in the description to the AFL page if you're watching. So head over there and whenever you're watching this, we'll start putting out some previews and some more AFL Finals content. But these guys are so strong, and their defense really sets up the attack and how they move the ball through the midfield, up the wings, and then just bang it into that forward 50. Is there a team which you think they maybe don't match up with or against well in this final series, where they maybe could run into that type of hurdle?
Funny you say that. The team that they were terrible against, the Western Bulldogs, they've been smoked by them a couple of times this year, so they're out of the equation. And they do match up pretty well against a lot of the other sides. So good record against sides like Geelong and Brisbane. I reckon, there's not too many of those bogey sides around for them. Hawthorn beat them, but that was down in Tassie, so they've got the home ground advantage this time. So, and they might bump into, some of those sides that they play well against historically. So. And they do move it, beautifully, as you touched on from the back half. So, lots to look forward to.
I was just having a quick look at their stats. Like, it's incredible. The last 10 games, they've scored over 100 points in 9 of them, won all 9 of them. And like you said, the only team that they lost to in that stretch was the Western Bulldogs. They scored 44 points against the Dogs. The Dogs put 132 on them. So... Man, they're a danger. They're more of a danger than that. Sort of like, I've missed that a little bit about how well they're actually going now. They're an absolute force.
Jez, your teammate, I'm guessing you're probably not on the same train as Adam with the GWS Giants. Who are you backing?
Probably should have
been. A bottom 4 perspective.
Yeah, I don't know. I was red hot on the Gold Coast. I think they can, obviously a Gold Coast supporter, got to be red hot on your team. I think that they can go long. They've played well against top 8 sides this year and killed a couple of the Giants throughout the year. I think they can definitely go long, but I think they've got to just get over the hurdle of the first week of the finals and travelling over to Perth to play Freo, because obviously it's never fun to travel to Perth, and going up against Freo in the finals can be extremely tough, I think. But the thing is also, I think Freo also scraped in. It's 2 teams that really have a lot of potential. And I think one of these guys, if they get through this, they're likely to be able to sort of, I think the next game is very winnable, and that's probably playing the loser of Geelong, Brisbane. And I think if Brisbane are a little bit hit and miss, they could go really long and win the Premiership again, like they did last year. But I think they've also shown signs of being a little bit vulnerable. And even at home, I think they're their last 8, they've won 4, lost 4 at home. So I think that puts them in a little bit of a vulnerable position in that second game if they go down to Geelong, like I guess we all presume Geelong are going to get through that game. So, yeah, I think that's winnable. And then you're going to probably play the Crows or whatever. So that all of a sudden becomes a little bit tough. But I think a prelim for one of those sides could very well be on the cards.
Adam, do you think that side of the draw has a little bit tougher road to a grand final?
I reckon the strongest side of the draw is 2v3, so Geelong versus Brisbane.
Yeah,
Definitely for me, the Fremantle Gold Coast, who they face the next week, is going to be pretty hard. Fremantle, I think they've got the best record out of the top 8 sides against sides in the 8. Them and Brisbane are right up there, and the Dockers obviously home ground advantage against the Suns, so sort of hate to break that one to you, Jez, but I think the Dockers are going to get past the Suns, but we'll see what happens.
Come on, we can beat Essendon by 100. We got to be able to beat Freo, right?
They were pretty happy with a win over the Bombers, which is fair enough. First finals in the history, but we'll see what happens against the Dockers.
Should have closed it out the week before, really. So
absolutely, I was pretty happy with Hawthorn supporters and Collingwood supporters are pretty happy with that. It opened up a top 4 sport. The Hawks didn't take advantage of it, but Magpies fans were certainly happy. But should have sealed the deal there and then.
Yeah, big for them because they're so good. They were so good at home, and now all of a sudden they lose any ability to play a home final. So that was massive for them to lose support.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, boys, about that top 4. Which team, Jez, I'll go to you first, mate. Which team out of the top 4 will we see crash out in straight sets?
Collingwood. I don't think there's, for me, also probably another theme throughout this whole show. Just Collingwood's back half of the season was atrocious. They won, 2 of their last 9 or something, I believe. Lost 5 of their last 7. So they didn't beat, and those 5 losses were all against teams that are in the finals. So I think it shows that they're vulnerable against the better teams. They just have struggled to find any real flow in attack, I feel. Their defense obviously has been really good. They got a strong backline, but they haven't been able to find those connections up front and find their guys in good areas to be able to kick goals. And then even they've struggled a little bit, I think, with consistency. So, I just obviously see that they're vulnerable. They just lost pace that whole last half of the season. And, I don't have any faith in them at all in this final series.
Ads, how you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty keen to join in on the Collingwood pylon. Why not? With what Jez said as well, they had 71 inside 50s, I think, to 37 against Adelaide in round 23. I think it is going to be really tight, though, that Adelaide-Collingwood match. Just sort of wonder about the impact that losing Isaac Rankin will have on the Crows. Their round 24 match against North was a little bit of an eye-opener. I know it was a dead rubber. Alistair Clarkson had a bit of a tag on Mark Keane, so Keane was like a brick wall against Collingwood in that match, and with Isaac Rankin out. But given I'm going to tip the Crows to edge the Pies, probably going to have to say Collingwood are in most danger of being the ones that bow out in straight sets, and the Pies Hawthorn, they might play GWS or Hawthorn. The GWS games are always tight, and they haven't got the best record against the Hawks either. But having said that, the flip side, they do love playing at the Adelaide Oval, even though they lost the last match they played. So it's a real sort of, the loser of that game, probably leaning towards Collingwood, probably possibly in the most trouble.
Yeah, both of those sides, Collingwood lost by 50 to both GWS and Hawthorn this season.
Yeah, a bit of a pile-on for the Hawks, and that wasn't long ago. That was like 3 or 4 weeks ago at the MCG. So it was certainly interesting.
Well, anybody in the comments, can you give us whoever kicks the most goals, which bottom 4 side goes the deepest, and also which top 4 side will crash out first? Put it in the comments, and we'll pin the comment that gets all 3 correct, and to see if you're on track with any of the boys here on the show. Now, while we're into these hard-hitting predictions, boys, let's go for the jugular. Let's go Premiership, Norm Smith, and then Brownlow. give us your top three, Jez, straight off. Bang, bang, bang. Let me know who you got.
All right, bang, bang, bang. I am taking the Adelaide Crows, of course, to win the Premiership. I've got Ben Keays winning the Norm Smith. And then the Brownlow, of course, Captain Courageous Jordan Dawson, who has been absolutely inspirational for the Crows this year. So, yeah, obviously the Crows, been on them for a while, have full faith in them that they can do it. I just see that they've shown that they're the whole package. They're extremely efficient inside 50. They also have been efficient in stopping their opposition this season, which I think is the biggest thing for them that's put them at the top. They've been extremely good defensively. So obviously you need that. Defense wins championships, as they say. Yeah, Norm Smith, I just think Ben Keays has ticks all the boxes for me to win the Norm Smith, because he can get himself extremely involved in the attack and be a feeder and really pull up that disposal count, which I think you often need to win the Brownlow. You've got to have your hands on the ball in the final. You've got to want the ball. You've got to be able to do something special. And I think we've seen that from Keays in flashy moments this year. And I think they certainly help you to win the Norm Smith on the day. And then also, of course, he can kick some goals. So I think he ticks all the right boxes to win a finals MVP. And then, Jordan Dawson, of course, like what an inspiration. 23 disposals, 5.3 ground ball gets per game, which is the second most in his career. So I think he's showing that even with age, he's still putting his body on the line, and he's still, being that inspiration. And that's why I think he certainly deserves it. He's getting 6.3 inside 50s per game as well. So, I think Adelaide last year, they really struggled to connect their back line with their forward line. And I think Dawson has just sort of picked that up and has been that key link for them and been able to feed the ball to, maybe it's not him putting the ball inside all the time, but he's the one either creating the play or getting the hard get and then being able to find someone open to be able to be the deliverer. So I think it's been all based around him this year and what he's done. And then obviously the other guys in the midfield have been able to build off that. So I think he deserves it. I think with the All-Australian team being named and him getting vice-captain, it sets up for a Brownlow for Dorso.
Adam, I'm just keen, before we get your three, I'm just keen to hear your opinion on Adelaide and whether you believe that if they come up against a team that has the strong ruck and a strong kind of clearance game, are they going to struggle to set their structures and their game plan to be able to be that, strong offensive team? Or how do you kind of see that?
I don't think they will. They've proven themselves this year with their back line, and like that Collingwood game was an example, just able to thwart all those inside 50s and just sort of find a way to win. When the game opens up as well, if it's a high-scoring game, there was games like against the Bulldogs earlier in the year. I think both sides kicked, or Bulldogs might have just got below 100, Adelaide around about 110. They've been able to adapt to those high-scoring, fast-paced games, or if they're under the pump in the back line as well. Just more on Jordan Dawson. I think he had 18 votes last year, but the Crows only won 8 games, and they've won 18 this year, so definitely sort of agree to some extent with Jez. So. But more than happy to go through my Brownlow if you'd like. Right, yeah. So look, at being a Hawk supporter, it sort of pains me to say, I think Geelong for the Premiership, Tom Stewart for the Norm Smith medal, and Brownlow Bailey Smith. So he's averaged more disposals than any player in the game, highest in the competition, second for metres gained. The Cats have won 17 of 23. He's a little bit of competition. Max Holmes has had a really good season. Jeremy Cameron, a stack of goals, but Smith has had a lot of massive, 35 plus disposal games in some of those big wins. The strong visibility, the long flowing hair, maybe it makes him a bit of a standout choice to the umpires as well. But they've sort of gone under the radar a bit, the Cats, and a lot of those sort of big wins. He's the one for mine. Obviously, Dawson, massive danger, and it's a bit of a 3-horse race, really. Nick Dacos, 38 votes last season. He's probably going to be in front after round 17. Collingwood had a few late season stumbles, so and that's when Smith sort of really cashed in late in the season against some of those weaker sides. So, and just, with the Cats, the reason I'm tipping for the Premiership, you've got 2022 premiers, Brisbane 23 and Collingwood 23 and Brisbane 24, but they've got that premiership experience. Dangerfield, Cameron, Stewart, but this year they've got more emerging stars stepping up. So Smith's come to the club, Max Holmes, guys like Mark O'Connor in the back line. He did the job on Isaac Heaney a few weeks ago. He might get someone like a Cam Rayner against the Lions, and they've got they don't just rely on Jeremy Cameron. He can go further up the ground. Shannon Neal, so a lot of flexibility. Defensive stability, so Tom Stewart, my Norm Smith prediction, really reliable down back, so he could potentially, be the one taking a lot of those intercept marks and providing a lot of rebound. Probably the biggest thing though with the Cats is they come in fresh. So some people think that they haven't really played any tough sides. It's going to be a disadvantage. I reckon that's going to be an advantage. That they've been able to rest players. You see Paddy Dangerfield getting subbed out early and eating a kebab on the bench in one of those games. They've been able to take their time with their injured players. They've only got one player on the injured list, so they'll be fresh and ready to fire. And a lot of the other sides, like the Lions, they've got quite a few injuries. I reckon you need a little bit of luck in finals, and that's sort of going to go a long way. And also, they've got the pedigree. They're sort of proven in September. They're always there. So, Geelong, I think, the team to beat, but a lot hinges on that first final.
Now, boys, one name that hasn't really come up here is Noah Anderson. He averaged a tick over 30 disposals per game. A real strong candidate for this Brownlow this season. I feel that Bailey Smith, he only played 20 games, so 3 less games than both Dacos and Anderson. And with Collingwood's kind of fall from grace in the second or the late third of the season, could Noah Anderson be a little bit of a sneaky kind of chance for that Brownlow, you think, Adam? He polled top of coaches' votes for the season together with Dacos, I believe.
Yeah, I think he was second favourite about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Like, he was down to $3.50, just a quiet last month, but absolutely. Bit of competition with Matt Rowell in the middle, and Took Miller's traditionally a strong poller as well. But yeah, I was really leaning towards him about a month ago. Just those final few weeks, just not quite sure. But definitely, I did say it was a 3-horse race before, but he's probably a little bit of value around the double figures. So big chance.
Jez, you reckon he would have polled quite highly in the final game against Essendon?
Yeah, absolutely. Wenders had 34 disposals, 3 goals in that final game. Not often he goes and has a 3-goal game, but like Adam said, it was the 2 games before that may just cost him. I think when the Suns were trying to just lock up their finals berth, he just got a little bit stuck and wasn't as involved. And I think you saw guys like Rowell and Miller sort of stand up a little bit more and take a little bit more of the ball, because it's simple. These teams, obviously, the goals to shut down or tag Noah Anderson, make sure that he's not getting involved, put a lot of pressure on him, and he sort of fell a little bit to that just in those 2 games. So that could be, he sort of, I guess, stumbled at the finish line a little bit, unfortunately.
All right, boys, the next thing I want to do is I want to look at the AFL Finals as a complete structure. What I want to do first is look at when are they played, why are they played, or who's playing, what they're playing, and when they're playing. So, Adam, next week, the first finals, it's on a Thursday night. It's the Adelaide Crows and the Collingwood Magpies. It's first versus fourth. And it's played on a Thursday night. It's a very, very much kind of a TV time slot. What's your thought around these Thursday night finals matchups?
Yeah, I love them. Just to space out the finals weekend a little bit. Thursday night footy's been pretty popular. There hasn't really been. There's been a lot of pretty ordinary games on Thursday nights, and attendance is not the best, but TV audience is pretty big. So I'm a big advocate for Thursday. Thursday final series, and then your Friday night prime time as well, and finishing them off on the Saturday.
And Jez, the second game, as Adam touched on there, the Friday night game, it's the second versus third, Geelong and Brisbane. One of the probably the two informed teams of the comp right now are going to go head-to-head on a Friday night blockbuster. The winner gets the week off, and the loser will get a home final against either Freo or Gold Coast. Friday night finals games, can they get any better than that?
No, absolutely not. That's the best game of the comp or the whole final series is that first game. So I like it. It's early. It's why you're still a little bit sober. You might have only had 3 beers instead of 6 beers. So I think it's the best one to watch, and then you can get rowdy for the follow-up game that's a little bit later. So I love it.
Love it. So it's Thursday. I think it's the 4th of September. Is that correct, boys? Am I getting my calendar right? Yeah. Thursday, 4th of September is the first. Is it called a qualifying final?
Yeah.
Yep.
Qualifying,
and then Friday, the 5th, the second qualifying final. Then on the Saturday, we have 2 games, and it's the elimination finals, I guess they're called. And it's first up, it's the Giants up against the Hawks from NG Stadium. A relatively early start, like a afternoon twilight game. Does that preparation, or when that game is played, affect preparation for these teams? It's not maybe a time slot that these two teams specifically are so used to, Adam.
I don't think so. They've had a lot of time to prepare. I think just the sides that get the home ground advantage, big advantage for those two sides. But preparation time, having that week off between the finals, I don't think it's really going to be a factor, unless there's some sort of local conditions that sort of come into play. But given the week off, shouldn't come into it too much.
And then Saturday night, Jez, Freo host the Suns, one of the biggest travel undertakings, or I don't know the word, but it's a big travel for the Gold Coast Suns over to Perth for that Saturday night blockbuster. And we've played a mountain of games in just a short time space, and then have to travel on that as well. How do you kind of see the preparation around that for that Saturday night blockbuster?
I don't see that it's an issue with the rest, to be honest. They had to play that extra game. It was pretty soft in the end, even though they put the hammer down. But I think they still had it's 10 days rest. It's still more than you would have normally had. So I think they're going to be fit for fight. But it is still it's the trip there that plays the biggest part in it. I think is obviously you've got to fly, you've got to recover from that longer flight, you've got to get your movements up. It just it's going to be interesting to see the tactic there if you fly early, so you've got a little bit more time to prepare in Perth, obviously with the longer break. So they'll be able to work out what they think is best for them. But yeah, it's a tough ask to go and play a final in Perth, your first ever AFL final in Perth at Optus.
Definitely massive. And then we see here on the screen that the winners from those elimination finals then cross over and will take on the losers of the qualifying finals, and that's in week 2 of the finals, the semi-finals. They'll be played on Friday, what's that date, boys? The 12th of September, and Saturday, the 13th. I don't know if the numbers or the games are set yet, which team plays on which day, but no doubt 2 blockbusters either way you look at it. And then you go through to the prelim the week after. That'll be on also Friday and Saturday, the 19th and the 20th, where you have the teams that won from week 1 qualifying finals up against the winners of the semis, which all then culminates, Adam, in the AFL Grand Final, which is played on the last Saturday of September.
Correct. Last Saturday in September.
27th.
With the 27th. And with the scheduling, that Freo Gold Coast game, the way it works, the Thursday night game, qualifying final, the loser, I think, will be the first game the following week on the Friday. And so the Friday qualifying loser will be the Saturday the following week. So it might just be a shorter break for the loser of the winner of the Fremantle Gold Coast match, and travelling the next week. So that could be a tiny factor for week 2 of the finals. And then we cross over to the prelims. So and the big day.
Yeah, it's going to hurt the Gold Coast when they beat Freo. They're just going to have that short little travel turnaround, aren't they, Ryan? It's going to be a little bit tougher for them to win the second week of the finals, but at least they're there.
Well, they could potentially, the Q clash could be on for that second week, the Brisbane and Gold Coast. If the Lions lose and the Suns win, that'd be huge.
Yeah, massive.
There's been some talk, boys, about maybe changing the time of the grand final. I've never been to a grand final myself, so I can't really say about the atmosphere. But Adam, what are your thoughts around the timing of a grand final? Should they keep it where it is, or should it go to a pure night grand final? What are your thoughts?
I'm all for it. A lot of people in Victoria are against it. Traditionalists, why change it? It's always been a day grand final, but I'd love to see it. Just the atmosphere is just huge. Those big night games on the MCG is packed out. You could even make it a twilight, so first half, start kick off at 4:30, and then it sort of concludes in the dark. But I wouldn't mind them trying it. I reckon that it will happen one day. But yeah, there's quite a fair bit of resistance at the moment, so it looks like it's staying put. But wouldn't mind seeing it.
Is it a public holiday in Melbourne on the? Oh no, it's Sunday. Yeah, because the game's on Saturday. They have a public holiday after the Melbourne Cup, don't they?
Yeah, they've introduced one for the Friday, the day before the grand final. That came in a few years ago. I know the NRL grand final on a Sunday, and they have a public holiday on the Monday. That's correct. The day after, is that right? Yeah. And the Cup weekend. Yeah. Recover. Yeah, ours is Friday beforehand. So.
Yeah. I don't know if that's so smart, because all of a sudden you're on a 2-day bender and you're at the end of your 2-day bender when the final's on, and you're tired and your head's sore already.
There's a bit going on. They've got a big race meeting, touched on Moonee Valley on the Friday night beforehand, so that's usually a good one to go to. It was cracking. The place was rocking last year, and then you back up to the MCG on the Saturday.
Whew. Solid. All right, boys. Let's take a look back down memory lane, the season that was, and I want to hear quickly a little bit about your biggest surprises or overachievers, and then the biggest disappointments. Jez, I'll throw to you first, mate. Who surprised you in the 2025 AFL season?
I think over the last few years, the biggest surprise is actually Brisbane were able to back it up and put together a good season after winning the Premiership. I think it's been, trying to remember exactly the number, but it was probably 5 or 6 years since the grand finalist actually came in and made the top 4. So, yeah, that's really big for them. But within that, I really liked watching Logan Morris. Obviously, with Joe Danaher departing or retiring for Brisbane, it was a massive hole that needed to be filled. And Logan Morris, just 20 years old, kicked 48 goals this season. So certainly filled that void. I think it's the 9th best in the AFL. So at 20 years of age and kicking 48 goals is a massive achievement. And obviously with just that little bit of pressure of having to fill the hole of Danaher, I think shows how much maturity he has. And I think he's definitely going to be a player that we're going to need to watch over the next few years, because, yeah, if he's doing that sort of stuff and being so dominant in the forward line at 20, it's going to be interesting to see when he puts on a little bit more bulk and a little bit more size and is a little bit smarter and gets a little bit better at positioning and setting up. So I think he can be definitely all of a sudden a fighting chance for a Coleman. So, yeah, really, really impressed with what he did this season. Underachieving, I know you got to say the Western Bulldogs, don't you? Missing the finals, like obviously so close, but I think when you look at the All-Australian squad, they had 5 players in the first sort of release of the squad that had 44 players. I think they had 3. They were the highest in the actual 3 players in the All-Australian squad. So with that type of talent, you should expect them to make the finals. They were absolute flat track bullies, had a percentage of 137%, the 3rd best in the comp, and still missed. So for me, it's definitely them that were a little bit disappointing.
Adam, can you see, just to Jez's kind of surprise, can you see Logan Morris being a superstar player in the league in 5 or 7 years' time?
Yeah, absolutely. He's still young. I think it's his second season, 20 years old. Absolutely. Big future ahead. And stood up in some big games as well, kicked a few bags. Might have got a 5 against Geelong. Can't quite remember. But yeah, he's going to be, or he probably already is a star, but definitely.
All right, Ad, who was your biggest surprise this season from the AFL?
Yeah, my biggest surprise, from an individual perspective, I know midfielders always get mentioned, but sort of looking either end of the ground, forward line, Jack Gunston, just 33-year-old. He looked on last few years. Start of the year, wasn't even in the team. He was a sub, ended up with 62 goals, career best, third in the Collingwood, second for goals per game, and capped off with All-Australian selection last night. So unbelievable, big surprise. And I guess Adelaide's backline, Josh Roll was unlucky to miss out. Mark Keane was a bit of a brick wall against Collingwood. So he was an Irishman. He played 5 games for the Pies and went home during COVID, came back as a Crow and, had a brilliant season. So agree 100% with Jezra about the Bulldogs in terms of being underachievers. But just sort of might look at this from a different point of view. So bit of maybe a question for Jez. The bookmakers at the start of the year, they set their total wins over and under line. So maybe what team do you think had the biggest gap between the wins that they had and what the actual line was? This is sort of leading into my under and overachievers. But yeah, what team, just top of your head, had the biggest gap?
Could it be the Swans?
What? No, it wasn't the Swans.
St Kilda?
Oh,
Wasn't St Kilda?
I wouldn't have got it. I'll let you know, and maybe the listeners can sort of have a bit of a guess in the meantime. But it's actually Adelaide, so their line was 11.5. They won 18, and if you go the other way, Carlton, Melbourne, Port Adelaide, and West Coast, all 4.5 wins less. So yeah, I maybe would have thought Sydney as well, given that they made the grand final. But might go with underachieving. Out of those 4, the Carlton, Melbourne, Port Adelaide and West Coast, all pretty ordinary seasons. West Coast just diabolical. They do have that premiership 7 years ago, so maybe Carlton. It's been 30 years since their last premiership, and a couple of years ago, the MCG was rocking. They won those 2 sudden death finals against Sydney and Melbourne, I think. Patrick Cripps kicking goals and the whole crowd erupting, and they had Brisbane on toast in the prelim and faded away. Last year they were right up there. Just the last 6 or 8 weeks they just got hammered by injuries, and everyone sort of thought this is going to be their year to bounce back, but they lost that first game against the Tigers and it just sort of went downhill from there. So biggest disappointments of the year. And just with that line thing too, Richmond, the other one, they were 2.5, and I must say I would have taken the under. I thought it was going to be doomsday for them. They maybe not win a game. So 2 wins last year. They lost the GOAT, Dustin Martin, retired. Dylan Grimes retired. Marlon Pickett, another premiership player. Some of their guns ended up at different clubs. So Bolton, Graham, Rioli and Baker. So on the back of 2 wins, all those players replaced with 18-year-olds. I didn't think they'd win a game, but yeah, that 2.5, they doubled it. They won 5, which I think was a pretty promising performance. So, future possibly bright at Tigerland.
Well, it looks a lot brighter than the other teams that are languishing at the bottom right now. And even North Melbourne, I think you saw some improvements in the way that their structures worked, but their defense was still diabolical. But boys, the biggest disappointment for me was Port Adelaide. Their list is for me, a team that could fight for a grand final spot. And they were just so poor at different times of the season. And I don't know what you do with this team. Do you blow it up and try and start again? Or do you hope that the new coach coming in with this handover that's also just been a shit fight and hope that it's going to be good next year, Jez?
Yeah, I think so. I think you still got to stick with that group. There's so much talent there. They obviously showed, say, 2 years ago, I think they were an inch from winning the minor premiership 2 seasons back. And then all of a sudden they're the ones that had the minor premiership hangover almost. And crashed out of the final. So, like, they've got a good group. They've got the talent. I think they just need the direction. And I think, yeah, that whole coaching debacle maybe put the club in a little bit of a weird spot and brought a bit of unnecessary tension. So I think you just reset for next season. You give it another crack with who you've got, and hopefully you see them back in the top 8, if not even the top 4, with the side that they have.
Adam, any thoughts on Port before we go to the next segment?
Yeah, I'm not really hoping they get back in the top 8. They've given my side a few nightmares over the past couple of years. I'm still getting over some of the losses that we've had to them. Like, they've got a serious midfield. Horne-Francis, Butters, Ollie Wines, Rosie's sort of half back now. They have had a little bit of a clean out. Let go of a few players. They listed some sort of big names. Ryan Burton's a pretty handy player. He might end up somewhere else next year. But if they can stay injury free, who knows where they're at. I might need to recruit a couple of players at either end, but we'll see.
All right, boys, let's round this AFL Finals special out with a look ahead to 2026. And there's a few things we can touch on here, but first and foremost, a team that didn't make the 8 this season and will be there or should be there in 2026. Adam, who you got?
Yeah, these are always pretty hard to do, I reckon. Just put it into perspective, last 2 years, there was 4 sides that went out and 4 sides that have come back in. So last year, Sydney, Port, Bulldogs, Carlton all dropped out, and Adelaide, Freo, Gold Coast and Collingwood have come in. So I don't think there's going to be as many, because this year the top half of the ladder are just so much more dominant than the bottom half. So, but given there's usually is at least a couple, probably Western Bulldogs maybe, but Sydney's probably the one that comes to mind. They had a stack of injuries that sort of just ruined their season early on. They finished it off pretty well, so they're probably the biggest chance. Keep an eye on St Kilda. They're going on a bit of a spending spree, plenty of recruits. I'm not quite sure they'll make it. And people might have a laugh at this one, but Essendon, they were 5-3 this year. They were playing some pretty good footy, and they looked pretty good, matching against some good sides as well. The injuries they had this year were just absolutely ridiculous. If you're a Bombers fan, look, probably not next year, maybe the year after. But if I had to choose one, probably Sydney is the one for me.
Jez?
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Sydney, just having Errol Goulden injured at the start of the year, just sort of messed them up. And obviously with a new coach in, with Cox coming in, you lose one of your key guys. I think it just got them off to a really tough start. And then they just sort of struggled the whole year with injuries and putting the same 18 guys on the field. And it just made it difficult for them. Like, I think we heard in the press at the end of the season, they felt like they were a team that could possibly compete now that they had all their guys back. And I think so too. So I think we'll see the return of the Swans. But I quite like the take on Essendon, actually, because, yeah, they had a little bit of an easy schedule at the start of the year, which also helped. But that injury list was diabolical. And they made some good moves in the off-season last year, and I think they just didn't really get to see the effect of that. So they could definitely be there or thereabouts.
Yeah. Boys, the Swans, I'm just counting it here, they've missed finals on only 4 occasions in the last, I think it's like 22 years since, it's even more like 2003, they started a run where they went 6 straight finals. Then they missed one. Then they went 4, 8, 9 straight, missed 2, 4 straight, and then missed this year. So they are a team that consistently makes finals, and only once have they gone back-to-back years over the last almost 30 years. Have they missed back-to-back finals? So I think the tip about the Swans coming back in is a pretty hot one.
Yeah, they're a bit like Geelong. They're just sort of always there, and they'll find a way to bounce back. And Jez touched on this too. They didn't really have a forward line this year either. Their big, tall targets, McDonald and Joel Amati, were out for the majority of the year. Had to rely on guys like Isaac Heaney. I think he led their goal kicking. He snuck down midfield/forward. So, yeah, they can definitely bounce back. History says that they will.
think they addressed that in the off-season in some way. Because Amadi, even when he was playing, was pretty shocking. Like, he had some really, really bad games.
I think they're in the mix for a key forward. I know Charlie Curnow, he sounds like he wants out of Carlton. Suns. Not sure if there's any links to Sydney yet. Jamara Ugle-Hagan, you probably want to avoid him. But yeah, they always do seem to recruit or attract one of those types of players. So if they can get one, yeah, definitely.
Any other trade rumours, boys, before we wrap up? Anything, the Tom de Koning to St Kilda? I don't know whether that moves the needle for them, but...
Yeah, he's locked and loaded. St Kilda, so Willie Rioli. There's one or two others that they're focusing on as well. Interested to see if Port Adelaide sign Butters. He's from Victoria. There's a bit of talk about him, the Bulldogs. There's always talk about Hawthorn trying to lure a top dog, but Harley Reid's gone signed on with the Eagles. So the Hawks definitely need a midfielder. There's a bit of... Petrarca's name has been mentioned a little bit, but yeah, lots to look forward to with the trades. A lot of it is speculation. So yeah, we'll see what comes out in the wash.
Yeah, Oscar Allen was also out of... Has he signed? Did he sign with someone recently?
He's requesting to use his free agency. It's just not sure if it's Brisbane just yet. But Eagles are trying to hang on to him, but he's pretty keen to leave. So Brisbane are the ones that are tipped to get him. With the Lions in the finals, not really sort of hearing too much. Jack Silvani was the other one too. So he's the Silvani name, 3 generations, Carlton. He's on the way out. He's exiting, but he hasn't sort of nominated the club that he's keen to go to. So he might... Western Bulldogs probably perfect for him, but his dad, Stephen, is at St Kilda, so maybe some ties there. I think that was one I was thinking of before. Could end up there, but we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting if he ends up somewhere like Collingwood, given the role between Carlton and Collingwood, and with the Silvani name. But watch this space.
All right, boys, let's wrap it up there. We can maybe revisit some of these trade rumours throughout the off-season. But we have a massive finals in front of us, and you're going to be seeing all the content here on Ahead of the Game, as well as on bets.com.au for all the individual game previews. You'll see Jez, Adam, and myself putting the gear up there over the next few weeks. Don't forget to check out bets.com.au. Links in the description, and let us know in the comments who your pick is for the Premiership for 2025. Jez, send us home, baby.
And hang with us and stay ahead of the game.